Okay. Dean Arnold Podcast, August 26th. We're going to talk about some more current event-y kind of things. We've been kind of staying away from the whole current events thing, but this is sort of a current event bit, and should be interesting to do it. It's August 26th. I'm running for Congress. Vote for me in November. DeanArnoldForCongress.com. You can give there. Like, share, and subscribe. Questions, comments, appreciated. I'm bringing sanity to an insane world. Oh, this world's so insane. And we keep getting duped that it's sane, but it's not sane. It's insane. And these people, they just dupe us. They just lie to us. And we're going to learn a whole lot about that today in today's podcast. What else can I tell you? Dolly Parton died yesterday. That's a current event. There's some weird stuff about Dolly. I'm not going to talk about it because the death is too fresh and it's kind of hard for people to discuss. But like a lot of people, very complex. Another day. I have no personal connection to Dolly Parton, so I got nothing to share on that end. But I do got something personal, slightly, when it comes to Bill and Melinda Gates, which we're going to talk about today. There's Bill and Melinda Gates. She was Melinda French, and I think they married in 1994. So she became Melinda Gates, and it went from the Bill Gates Foundation to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and then it went to probably back to the Bill Gates Foundation, and now she's left Bill and the foundation, and now she's speaking out about Bill's serious problems. I'm going to talk about Bill's serious problems here, and they're very serious. And when I say very serious, even worse than Epstein pedophilia. I mean, I guess you could say that. It's hard to say something's worse than that, but when I explain it to you, you'll see what I'm talking about. I don't know that Melinda knows how deep. Not that she doesn't know, but doesn't want to really explore how deep Bill's problems are, because Epstein was into stuff that was worse than pedophilia. So we'll get to all that. Anyway, let me bring myself back up here. But I wrote a book about it all. I did in 2019. Here's my book, Unknown Empire. It's about Ethiopia. But the reason I wrote a book about Ethiopia is because Ethiopia has very high birth rates. And the future of Christendom may be Ethiopia, because Ethiopia is a historically Christian country. And so I'm very interested in Ethiopia for that reason, as is Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates. Hopefully Melinda not as much as before, but the UN and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, when I was out there in 2017, 18, 19, man, they were working their butts off to keep those black women from having children. We got a problem here. We got these black women that are having all kinds of children, and the white people aren't having children, which is okay, because we just hate people in general. We don't want anybody to have children, but these black people are having lots of children. So they're in there doing everything they can to keep the black people from having children. I kid you not. And I was there too, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit, because now Melinda's starting to speak out. She's starting to get it, and maybe she knows how deep it runs. Maybe she doesn't. I don't know. We'll see. All right. We're just getting started here, so let's go ahead and fear the beard. All right. Fear the beard. Let's go into our scriptures of the day. I got to get rid of that. Okay. Just a couple of things on this 2 Corinthians 9 passage. There's another long passage about Paul kind of going back and forth, kind of saying weird things. But let's look at verse 1 there. Now, I, Paul, myself, am pleading with you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, who in presence am lowly among you, but being absent am bold toward you. And I just want to say that it's kind of like social media. When Paul's away and he's writing letters, he's mean. When he gets there, he's all meek and lowly and kind. So I think this social media trend that we see has been going on for a long time. Second thing I want to point out here, verse 3, Paul says, we don't walk in the flesh. We do not war according to the flesh, not with the swords and guns. And for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. Okay. Let me read that last verse too. And being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. And I just want to bring this up because James Jordan, the commentator I use for my Revelation commentary, he talked about how Christians are not called to warfare in general. I mean, there's exceptions and it happens here and there. We got saints on the calendar who are warriors. But we're generally, he says, called to wordfare. Our words are not wimpy and lame, whatever. Our words are mighty, pulling down strongholds, bringing every thought into captivity, punishing all disobedience. So as Christians, we do wordfare. Get in there and do some wordfare, guys. We need some wordfare. I got some heroes. Some of y'all aren't going to like this, but Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, even like Ann Coulter and some others. I mean, they're out there saying it out loud, saying it strong, putting themselves at risk. We had the podcast 3 or 4 days ago about St. Tikhon, the patriarch of Russia. He did those anathemas on the red Bolsheviks, very much needed, and he condemned them and anathematized them to hell and everything like that. That's what you call wordfare right there. He didn't fight them with swords, and he ended up winning. It took a while, but wordfare, not warfare. All right, that's all I want to say about that. Let's go to the gospel today, which is Mark chapter 3. And Jesus is doing miracles, and he's healing people and casting out demons, and his family and the scribes get together and say, man, this guy's out of his mind. And he's able to do this demon casting stuff because he's got the power of Beelzebul, the ruler of the demons, power of Satan. That's how he can cast out these demons. Man, that was a bad idea. It's just a bad idea. And Jesus says, that's a bad thought. If a kingdom is divided against itself, it cannot stand. I'm not doing this by the power of Satan. I'm delivering people from the clutches of Satan. So just think about that. I know some people who would jump to conclusions about people in the Protestant movement who cast out demons. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be so quick to do that. I really wouldn't. Are there a lot of charlatans in that world? Sure. But there's also some legitimacy, and I can say there is some because I've been involved in it myself. I have cast out some demons. Probably needs to be another podcast, but just if the fruit's there, don't go blaming it on the devil. There's even passages in the Bible that says such kind of accusations as the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. So just don't go there. We did that podcast on Mark David Chapman a couple of days ago, and he was delivered of some mighty demons. And I just don't think that's done by Satan. I think that's done by the power of the Holy Spirit. That's done by Christ. He got delivered. He's been following Jesus ever since. I mean, you just got to be careful here, guys. Use common sense. Judge a tree by its fruit. Okay, that's that. Let's move now to the saint of the day. And I don't have it exactly queued up, but that's okay. Martyrs, Adrian and Natalia. All right. We have a Natalia in our church. I'm not sure if she's named after this Natalia or another one. The martyrs, Adrian and Natalia, were married in their youth for 1 year prior to their martyrdom. So we got a married couple. I think it says at the end that Adrian was 29. Anyway, so in their late 20s, they get married, or at least he does. And for 1 year, they enjoy the beauties of marriage. and then they get martyred by the Emperor Maximian. This is in the 4th century. They come to trial. They want them to renounce Christ. And the governor asks Adrian, "What rewards do you expect from your God for your suffering?" And he said, "Such rewards as we are not able to describe, nor can your mind comprehend." So remember this theme we've got here about trying to obtain a better resurrection? Well, that's what Adrian and his fellow martyrs are saying. Such rewards we are not able to describe, nor can your mind comprehend. Probably our minds can't either. But that's why it's called faith. So let's grasp onto that. He says, "I'm a Christian. I would die gladly." And the emperor says, "Really? Have you gone mad? Do you want to die? Come cross your name off this list and get forgiveness." And he says, "I've not lost my mind, but rather I have found it." And then he was thrown in prison. He got out to tell his wife that he was going to be executed the next day, I think. And his wife is all upset because she thinks he got out because he recanted. And so she won't even see him. But finally, he's able to see her. Then they tortured him, of course. And she didn't want to marry a pagan after his death. And so she prayed to the Lord, and right after he was martyred, she fell asleep in the Lord. So she didn't have to marry a pagan. Various other miracles happened at the time of their death. But they are the patron saints of married couples. So you married couples out there wanting to have a healthy and good marriage, martyrs Adrian and then Natalia are who you want to associate yourselves with. So there you go. Saint of the day. All right. Now we're going to talk about the topic of the day. What does it say down there? Melinda Gates speaks out on Bill and Epstein. Yeah, she's finally had enough. There was hints of this a few years ago, but she's really kind of getting to it now. I think I'll go ahead and play the clip now, just to kind of get into it, and what everybody's appetite, and then I'll do some background that'll really help explain all this. Here we go. Share. And all right, I think I'll make this big. Here we go. So this is Melinda Gates. She gave an interview to NPR, and here's what she said.
I think we're having a reckoning as a society, right? No girl should ever be put in the situation that they were put in by Epstein and whatever was going on with all of the various people around him. No girl. I mean, it's beyond heartbreaking, right? I remember being those ages those girls were. I remember my daughters being those ages, right? How did that happen to those girls, right? And so for me, it's just sadness for, I left my marriage. I had to leave my marriage. I wanted to leave my marriage. I had to leave I felt I needed to eventually leave the foundation. So it's just sad. That's the truth, right? And it's kind of like, at least for me, I've been able to move on in life. And I hope there's some justice for those now women, right? We see them standing up in front of microphones in D.C. What they went through is just unimaginable, I think.
Epstein.
Okay. So there you go. There's Melinda Gates coming out saying, "I don't want to have any more association with Bill. I'm divorcing him. I'm leaving the foundation. I'm giving up billions because this stuff is evil." Well, she's talking about young girls and pedophilia and Bill sleeping around with all sorts of women, that sort of stuff. But there's much more under the surface than that. I don't know how much Melinda knows about it, but we shall find out. But let's go ahead and wade into the issues. I got to bring up an article here. Okay, here's an article that I wrote. It's on my website. Let me bring it up here. Bill Gates, eugenics, vaccines, and Planned Parenthood. I wrote this in like 2019, 2020. And, this was when Bill and Melinda Gates were like Dolly Parton. It's like they were the most wonderful thing in the world. And you didn't dare ever say anything bad about them because they were the most wonderful people in the world trying to save humanity. Well, about a year before that, I write this book where Bill Gates is the villain. He's the, he's the bad guy trying to lower human population. And some people were mad at me for this, but it only took about a year before all of a sudden Bill Gates, because of COVID and various other things, he suddenly just became the bad guy. Association with Epstein certainly didn't help. But the article starts with him giving these TED Talks and other interviews where he starts talking about using vaccines to reduce the population. They tried to get him out of it and, wordsmith it, whatever, but that's what he said. And I still believe that the purpose of the vax ultimately was infertility. But he starts saying all that, and everybody's trying to clean up around him, and it's not working very well. He's got this backstory that's a bunch of hogwash. He was like a middle class kid who dropped out of Harvard and wrote some software that led to Microsoft. So he became the richest man in the world. Not quite. His great grandfather was a top banker for the Federal Reserve, and he was born with a trust fund. And his father was a mega national and international attorney who had very extensive ties. And we are going to find out here in a little bit that he had ties to Planned Parenthood. But Bill was no just suburban middle-class kid. He was an elitist. He got handed. His mom was on the board of IBM, or served on a board with the head of IBM, and had relationships. And that's kind of how Bill got that plum situation where he made all that money. Anyway, his great grandfather was J.W. Maxwell, who founded the Seattle National City Bank, and he was a director for the Federal Reserve Bank. Yeah, he's deep in. He's actually William Gates the Fourth. His dad was William Gates the Third, even though he went by Junior. So they changed their names and all that crud. Pretty typical. Bill starts making all these gaffes and talking about reducing the population with vaccines, and they got to get rid of him because they got a lot of PR people working hard on his image. So they bring in Melinda Gates to fix it. So she becomes the spokeswoman for the foundation, and she's very good. And but it didn't last very long because she got absolutely fed up with Bill and his antics, and maybe she knew more about it than she admits. But let's talk about the worst stuff. Okay. Bill and his father were associated with Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger is the founder of Planned Parenthood. Let's talk about that. Okay. So Margaret Sanger, the one who brought birth control, reducing population to our country, and who was the founder of Planned Parenthood, the number one performer of abortions, killing babies in the womb. That's Margaret Sanger, one of the most evil people who's ever lived. All right. In her magazine, Margaret Sanger talked about eliminating human waste and the need to create a race of thoroughbreds, quote unquote. The masthead of her birth control review newsletter also early on said, more children for the fit, less for the unfit. It was all eugenicist. One contributor wrote, it is the lower elements of the population, the Negroid Aboriginal tribes, and the pariahs and outcasts who are gaining the fastest. We got to do something about these Negroids that are just growing so fast. She had a lover named Havelock Ellis, who wrote a 7-volume commentary on sex at the turn of the century. There are all these scumbags way early on. And he wrote a review for Margaret Sanger. I got pictures. Forgot about that. I'll show you a picture. There's a picture of Margaret Sanger. That's kind of a nice one, even though she kind of looks kind of evil. Looks like I have a knife around her neck, whatever. This is a better picture, I think, depicting. She looks a little more menacing there. It almost looks like a Nazi train car in the background, which would be fitting. But anyway, that's Margaret Sanger for you. Then here's a picture I found of her and Havelock Ellis. He wrote a book called The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy. Of course, this is Margaret Sanger's lover. And he notes that he needs to concern himself mainly with the maintenance of white supremacy. Let's see what else we're going to say. He says it's the migration of lower types, even within the white world, such as those which have worked havoc in the United States and need to be curtailed. He wrote the preface to Sanger's book, Woman and the New Race, which actually I happen to have right here. Okay, oopsie. Let me bring myself up here. Women in the New Race. I got this book. I've read this book. There's a quote in here that we'll quote in a minute. It's hard to believe, but I've checked it out 8 different ways, and it be the truth. Sanger calls for giving certain dysgenic groups in our population the choice of either segregation or sterilization. She also invited Hitler's director of genetic sterilization, Ernst Rudin, to come and write an article in her magazine. It was entitled Eugenic Sterilization, an Urgent Need. And then in her book, Sanger famously said, the most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. Okay, it's in that book I just held up. I could show it to you, but you just have to trust me. And I've read it in context, forwards and backwards. It means exactly what it says. I'll read it again. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it. Okay. Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood. Not a good person, evil person, fully committed to depopulation, killing babies in the womb, doing whatever she can to keep more people from coming on the planet. Yes. Okay. Well, now let's get back to Bill Gates. Okay. When Bill was making all his dumb interviews and making all sorts of mistakes, he did an interview with, forget which magazine it was. It was one of the talking heads on the 3 channels. Bill, I could scroll up and show you. But anyway, he talked about how his father was on the board of Planned Parenthood. He said his father was the head of Planned Parenthood. What? People kind of scratched their heads, but nobody really looked into it. Salon Magazine looked into it. Salon Magazine said that he wasn't just like on the board or the head of the local Planned Parenthood in Seattle. He was on the board of the National Planned Parenthood Organization. $2 billion in assets, largest performer of abortions in the world. The legacy of Margaret Sanger. If he was head of that, he was probably the chairman of the board. And Bill talked about how growing up, they would talk about the problem of world population. That's what he grew up with, a eugenicist. So the story goes, Bill made a fortune in, Microsoft. And then at age 40, suddenly he decided he wanted to save the planet from overpopulation. Well, no, he spent his whole life obsessed with overpopulation with a father who was into overpopulation. What did his father think of Margaret Sanger? According to official Planned Parenthood history, our founder, Margaret Sanger, was a woman of heroic accomplishments. And like all heroes, she was also complex and imperfect. Oh, yeah. Very complex and very imperfect, very terrible, very evil, and not anyone you should be associated with. Regarding the foundation, Bill says, my dad was a large presence, both physically and his wisdom. He was good at stepping back and seeing the broad picture. In a closing tribute, he said, you really got the foundation going, Dad, and put it in the direction That's made it incredibly successful. Let me bring up. I'm supposed to have a picture of. Sorry about this. There's another picture of Margaret Sanger. We don't care too much about her. There's Bill Gates Sr. with the propaganda photo of the lovely children hanging around him, but really his whole life was committed to seeing little children like that never exist or get killed in the womb. Okay, so here we go. Epstein is not only a pedophile, he's a eugenicist. He's doing all sorts of strange eugenics experiments. He's got these ranches in Texas where he's got like 20 girls and he's impregnating all of them. And they're doing all sorts of things to try to figure out how to do eugenicist type things. And they're all racist, of course. And so how much of that does Melinda know? I'm not sure. She probably does. She may even agree with it. She hasn't come out against that stuff. She's come out against Bill's philandering and hanging out with teenage girls, young teenage girls. So when I was in Ethiopia and trying to promote Be Fruitful and Multiply, God's plan always, and trying to keep up that birth rate by those black people in Ethiopia and Africa, I found out that the hotel that I was staying at in the northern city of Aksum, that Melinda Gates had stayed there 6 months before. She was out there trying to get the birth rate down. We don't want black people. We want less black people. So I stayed in the same hotel as Melinda Gates. I wrote about it in my book. Hopefully Melinda has gone on to, move past not just Bill's philandering and pedophilia, but also realizing that, a tree by its fruit, and it all kind of comes together because now you got racism, hatred, eugenics, master race, supreme white race, all that kind of stuff, all the Nazi kind of stuff, Hitler kind of stuff. Oh yeah, it's all part of the whole Bill Gates Foundation and Epstein. And so yeah, that's what we're dealing with. Let's see what else. Question, comments appreciated, by the way. Looks like we got a couple. Let's look at them. When I was inquiring into orthodoxy, I went on a Microsoft. I'm going to have to move this over here, guys, because I can't read. When I was inquiring into orthodoxy, I worked on a Microsoft data center in West Georgia. And in 13 years of construction experience, Microsoft is the most toxic customer I have ever worked for. Okay, thank you, Caleb Piacios. So he's just kind of saying, judge a tree by its fruit. And so he's worked in all sorts of IT kind of situations. And in 13 years, Microsoft was by far the worst. Okay, thank you. Sweet Princess says, good morning. Good morning, Sweet Princess. Question, comments appreciated. Bring them on. There's another comment that looks like a bot. So the caption today is Melinda Gates speaks out on Bill and Epstein. So she has done that. I think I'll just play that again because it's a pretty big deal. Okay, so I gotta, gotta bring this thing back now. Where did my StreamYard go? Oh, I lost my StreamYard. Okay, I gotta find it or I can't finish the freaking show. StreamYard. Nope, that ain't it. That ain't it. Sorry, y'all. There it is. I am so sorry. Okay, we're back. What was I trying to do? I want to bring in the we're going to play the Melinda Gates video again, just because it's pretty significant, I think. Okay, where is that? I am so sorry. That looks like X. So, yeah, there we go. That's not what we want. All right, one more time. Stop screen, share screen. When it's this bad, sometimes I have to go in and edit it after the fact. So there's Alex Jones, and I'm trying to get Melinda Jones's thing on there. And I think
to the crises where I just want to fundamentally.
No. Okay. Well, I've just really screwed up. So we're not going to listen to Melinda again. And we're just going to ruminate on the fact that she has come out. She is against Bill Gates. She is against his foundation. She thinks he's evil and needs to be prosecuted. And, these things come around. So what's the moral of the story? Well, for me, I could have shied away from writing about Bill and Melinda Gates and their evil ways when they were on top and everyone thought they were the cat's meow, but I didn't. And it turned around for me. So that's good. What else can we learn from this? We can learn that the right thing is always the right thing. What else can we learn from this? God's first command was to be fruitful and multiply. It always will be, we'll need it. Another billionaire, thank God, Elon Musk, is promoting the fact that underpopulation is the biggest threat to our world. No, it's not. It's not overpopulation. It's underpopulation. We need more people. God loves people. We need to procreate. Don't shy away from that. I know you've been programmed for 70, 80 years, and it's hard to redo the wires, but you got to redo the wires, and it's real simple how to do it. Believe the Bible. That's it. Just do that, and you'll be on your way. You can go through all this rigmarole of writing all kinds of books and exposing all kinds of scholarship and waiting for the experts to come and tell you that it's okay, but just do what the Bible says. So that's what we learned from this. But it's a good thing that Melinda has come out, and maybe we will hear more from her before it's all over with. So anyway, that's the moral of the story. Vote for me in November, DeanArnoldForCongress.com. Like, share, subscribe. I'm bringing sanity to an insane world, this insane world that believes scum like Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein. Just move off of it, guys. Believe your daddy, believe your granddaddy, believe the church fathers, believe God the Father, believe the Bible, believe all that stuff. Don't believe the schemers and the deceivers, however wonderful they look at the present moment, because after a while they get exposed. All right. God is good. Let's get the heck out of here. Do my media assets. I hate the fact that I had that one moment where I was not able to find what I wanted, but it's okay. August 26th. We're out.
Dean Arnold.